And reviews from Quarantine Land continue. I do have to say, as dystopian future outcomes go, indoors apocalypse kinda sucks. I mean, it's bad enough I'll probably never get to be like Captain Kirk, Buck Rogers, but I don't even get to take a stab at Mad Max, Snake Plissken. Anyway, obviously New Mutants no longer came out this week, and Mulan never came out last week because the theaters are still closed. But it turns out we do in fact have a new-ish release in the vein of Chinese mythological fantasy, freshly arrived on Blu-ray and select VOD streaming options, courtesy of specialty release outfit G-Kids, a name which is likely familiar to those of you who were already well practiced for the age of social distancing, as they're mainly known for releasing anime. The film is called White Snake, and while it is indeed animated, it hails not from Japan, but mainland China, a production from high-profile domestic animation company Light Chaser Studios, in collaboration with Warner Brothers, and was set up with the explicit intention of producing a Chinese answer to Frozen, i.e., okay, we can't do anything about Disney remaking their own Mulan movie, but we can get ahead of them in doing one of their 3D animated princess things with one of our fairy tales, so do that, make it look and play as much like their present-day aesthetic product as possible, and just so Mickey knows we're not fucking around, do the one with the two magic sisters. Since some historical context will probably be in order here, 有人告诉我在进步，但我记不会说例如的普通话。也不想唱中国古典文书的日语设备。如果这会导致我酷我的发音或者失去酷我的人民或习俗，或是造成我自我会向您道歉。Alright, so the legend of the White Snake, also sometimes simply the White Snake or Madam White Snake, is a centuries-old Chinese folk legend with the first known written versions dating to at least the Ming Dynasty and oral tradition going back God only knows. China's been around a long time, and the various kingdoms and provinces before the Middle Kingdom thought of itself as a single place, going back even further than that, which is considered one of the four great folktales of Chinese culture. In the broadest strokes, it's about a pair of sisters who are snake spirits that can also assume human form. One is green, the other is white. The white one falls in love with a human and a vengeful Taoist priest who is also an evil shape-shifting turtle and or crab in many versions, tries to break them up because reasons, and also sometimes the green one is kind of a pill about the whole situation as well. Of note, the oldest versions are straightforward dude, your girlfriend is actually an evil monster story in the kind of campfire tale horror genre where the priest is a good guy, but apparently subsequent centuries of both audiences and storytellers decided they liked it better as a sympathetic, star-crossed, and also vaguely kinky, supernatural, interspecies, monster-fucking romance kind of thing. So yeah, one of the four great folktales of China is kind of best known in the form of its own proto-horny fanfiction. Now, if you follow Chinese film, television, popular entertainment in general, you've probably seen or been aware of many prior versions of this. They filmed this one almost as often as the Monkey King parts of Journey to the West, and so this animated Frozen alike opts to differentiate itself further by going to prequel territory, setting the main story some 500 years before, whenever it thinks the more familiar version will have taken place, and playing out an origin tale based on certain versions of the original, depicting the snake and human love interest characters as reincarnated former lovers. As such, our main story picks up in the Tang Dynasty, the story involving an evil general leading an army imbued with dark Taoist magic who's trying to become immortal by capturing and absorbing the souls of snake spirits. The white and green snake sisters are assassins, here charged with taking him out, but something goes wrong and the white snake, while in human form, winds up in a village of conscripted snake catchers, afflicted with selective amnesia, and a shy but clumsy and good-hearted handsome local lad pretty much decides that she's hot enough to quest, fight, and die for, kinda before anyone even asks him to do that, so yeah, you know where this is going. They gotta find out who she is, how's Lover going to react if at all when they do. The bad guys are looking for her, that's bad news for the village. The snakes are also looking for her, and that's also bad news for the village because the snakes, while sympathetic, we're in East Asian demon folklore land, so they're not really good either, and that's bad news. The green snake is also looking for her sister, and she's a good guy but doesn't really care if she's gotta kill a bunch of people to get there. Oh, and also they're opting to outgun Disney on this in another respect by making it just a little bit matter-of-fact, steamier and more violent than the mouse would usually go. So we're on a collision course for less of a can we all just get along ending and more of an exactly how much of everybody else has to die so we can have freaky snake sex in peace ending. And also kind of a sequel setup and post-credits tease for, hey, if enough of you see this, we're gonna do the more familiar version next, really. But how is it? honestly, as these kind of things go, it's pretty damn good. Chinese domestic animation is in kind of an awkward but also interesting place where the people forming these new studios are by and large the people who've been doing the grunt work for Disney, Pixar, Blue Sky, etc. You know, and also DreamWorks and Sony, all the names you know for years now. So while the storytelling and design and character animation nuance are sometimes a little on the stiff side, the overall technical acumen is every bit as polished, if not more so, than the Western animation. So Whitesnake is a gorgeous looking movie with some of the most dynamic looking on-screen depictions of Chinese mythological creatures I've seen ever. It's visually stunning, fast-moving, terrifically involving story in the main thrust, though if you're not a little bit familiar with the common themes and tropes of Chinese and specifically Taoist folklore, there's going to be a few meant to be taken as a given by the intended audience bits that may prove a bit confounding, such as whose side everyone is on between the demonic and human magical creatures, and why certain things can and can't happen, and everything involving a fox demon expository character who's fun but seems to play an unnecessarily outsized role until it clicks that we're loading the basis for a franchise and you realize, oh, right, every film in every genre from every country is just like this now. But taken on its own terms as an animated romance fantasy a bit sexier and a bit bloodier than what Disney might offer, and featuring some very solid giant monster, martial arts, Eastern-inflected magic dueling, a different than usual doomed romance dynamic where both parties are kind of the tragic, hyper-dramatic, vulnerable one, there's a lot to recommend here. It's not without its flaws on the pacing front, and unsurprisingly it plays better when it's adhering to something more like the authentic tone and rhythm of Chinese folk storytelling, and more awkwardly when it's trying to ape the Disney formula of reimagined Western fairy tale storytelling, but it's charming and visually splendid and a decidedly interesting change of pace. 7 out of 10, I'm glad I gave this one a shot.